My father, Dr. Charles R. Drew, was so involved in the storage and delivery of blood at the request of the American Red Cross for the Blood for Britain project in 1940 and 1941.
So let's talk about the guy that developed much of this technology. This is Charles Drew.
Dr. Charles Drew. He's a physician, surgeon, and medical researcher.
Dr. Charles Richard Drew, the father of blood banking, and they are the words that he lived by.
Charles Drew.
Dr. Charles R. Drew.
Charles Richard Drew.
Dr. Charles Drew.
This is the life of Charles Richard Drew, a scientist and surgeon who saved millions of lives and revolutionized the blood storage industry for generations to come. Excellence of performance will transcend artificial barriers created by man. Dr. Charles Richard Drew was a well-respected surgeon and the first African-American head of the American Red Cross Blood Bank in 1941. He was in charge for blood for both the Army and Navy, and he was recognized worldwide for his research and advancements into blood storage and transfusion. Until one day, he quit. You might be wondering, why would someone in such a good position in life quit? Well, the answer is far more admirable than you might think. After months of battling with the American Red Cross Blood Bank to allow black donors, Charles Drew was relieved when they agreed to accept black donors. However, what he would soon find out was that blood donated from white people and blood donated from black people were stored in separate bags. Outraged by this ridiculous policy, he quit his job, declaring that segregating blood was unscientific and insulting to African Americans. This moral stand against racism shows a small part of Charles Drew's resilience, determination, and innovation. But the father of the blood bank didn't always love science. Charles Drew was born on June 3, 1904. He grew up in Washington, D.C., where he lived a relatively normal middle-class life in a racially diverse neighborhood. He was a standout athlete in many sports like football and track, even getting him scholarship offers from colleges. Although he was a great athlete who had a bright future in sports, something in his life made him change his mind and switch to medicine, and that was when his sister died from tuberculosis. He was devastated from the loss because the medicine was not enough to save her. Charles Drew's college career was filled with twists and turns. He started off as a star athlete in football and track, getting him a scholarship to Amherst in 1922. He was one of only 13 black students in a body of 600. During his sporting events, he faced a lot of hostility from other teams due to his race. He even faced hostility from his own team, being refused the role of team captain, even though he clearly deserved it. He decided to go to McGill University College of Medicine after biology teacher Otto Grazer piqued his interest in medicine. That wasn't the only reason though. As stated earlier, his sister died from tuberculosis and he was devastated. His sister was a great inspiration in his life, but when she got tuberculosis, the medicine was not enough to save her life. This was a massive driving force in his switch to medicine. At McGill, he attained his MD in 1933. After getting his MD, he got his Doctor of Science in Surgery at Columbia University. Columbia University was the start of Charles Drew's massive impact. It was when he began working with bacteriology professor John Beatty on blood transfusion medicine. After researching blood transfusion medicine at Columbia University, he trained at Presbyterian Hospital in New York with surgeon Alan Whipple. Alan set him up to work with John Scudder, and John Scudder helped Charles set up an experimental blood bank, which was a huge accomplishment at the time. It was such a huge deal because the blood bank focused on very important aspects for the future of blood, like controlling shock, fluid balancing, blood chemistry preservation, and transfusions.
Our red blood cells carry oxygen and nutrients. Our platelets stop bleeding and help to heal our wounds. Our white cells protect us against infection. And the yellow liquid plasma in which they are suspended carries an array of proteins that regulate bleeding and clot.
This blood bank was a massive step in the right direction for studies into blood and blood banks in the future. This movement, along with his research into blood preservation, were some of his biggest accomplishments. However, he wouldn't have gotten those accomplishments if he hadn't gotten into medical school. However, there was a problem. Charles Drew was African American, and the only 2 medical schools in the USA wouldn't accept him. Although he was faced with all of these problems, he never gave up, persevering and eventually getting into McGill. His research into blood preservation led him to the Blood for Britain project. Charles Drew was researching plasma. He gathered blood for the British's war against the Germans, collecting 14,556 pints of vital blood. In 1950, driving with 3 colleagues to the annual John A. Andrews Association in Tuskegee, Alabama, their car was overturned. Charles Drew was severely injured and passed away in the Alamance County General Hospital after receiving a blood transfusion. Even though he had an amazing position and was recognized all over the world, he quit his job because they were segregating the white people and the black people's blood. People today should learn from Charles Drew's story. He lived a truly inspiring life. Instead of feeling sorry for himself after his sister died, he strived to make a change and help others so they would never have to go through what he did. People can apply that today to aspects in their life they feel strongly about. You don't need someone you love in your life to die, and you don't need to do something drastic that changes the world. If you follow your passion and do what you love, you can inspire others to do great things. He made a massive impact in the world today in many ways. Most important of all, he engineered a new way to store blood for much longer, saving millions of lives and changing the blood and plasma industry for generations to come. Racism in medicine still exists today, even though it's less extreme. We need to work so that everybody can have a chance to help the world as much as Charles Drew did. He worked so that the next generation could progress even further than he did. Racism needs to be fought against and come to an end for good. Charles Drew made a huge change in his life, a decision that took a lot of strength and perseverance. This should inspire people to do what will make a change in the world for the better and go outside of their comfort zone, even if some people are against it.